We're not gonna pay. We're not gonna pay. We're not gonna pay. Last year's rent. This year's rent. Next year's rent.
Hello everybody, it's Wednesday. As you can tell by the marvelous introduction that I just left you, today I'm going to be talking about one of my other favorite musicals, I guess because November is the month in which I talk about musicals. In the early 90s, Jonathan Larson was on the brink of something amazing, something groundbreaking, inspiring, and 100% rock and roll. Just before his project took flight, he passed away while making a glass of tea from an aortic dissection. That project was Rent, which opened on Broadway in April of 1996, but the movie was released on November 23rd, 2005. That makes this year the 20th anniversary of the musical, and today the 11th anniversary of the movie. Rent was something that nobody had seen on Broadway before. It was an innovation in music and live storytelling. It touched on topics like the AIDS crisis, drug abuse, life, death, borrowing time, love, race, and friendship. The story still holds up today because it's pretty much about a marginalized group of friends who face different obstacles in their own personal lives. These friends were friends of Jonathan Larson's, and some of them had even shorter lives than Larson did, but they'll always be remembered through Rent. Mark Cohen is a Jewish filmmaker who's having trouble creating his greatest project and also dealing with the idea of selling out. He's Roger's roommate and Maureen's ex-boyfriend, and he's super cute and awkward, and I can never tell if I want to play Mark or if I want to date Mark. Anthony Rapp, the beautiful child that he is, originated the part on and off Broadway and reprised the role of Mark in the 2005 movie. Skylar Astin played Mark at the Hollywood Bowl. Roger Davis is an emotional wreck. He's scared of living since he never knows when he'll live his last day because he's HIV positive, and his ex-girlfriend April killed herself when she found out that she was HIV positive. Roger is one of those emotional musicians, but he can't quite figure out how to write his one last great song before he dies. Adam Pascal originated the role on and off Broadway and played Roger in the movie, but my favorite portrayal of Roger is by Aaron Tveit at the Hollywood Bowl. Tom Collins, who usually just goes by his last name, is Roger and Mark's roommate, but throughout the musical he pretty much just lives with his partner Angel. Tom is smart, political, gay, and infected with AIDS. And honestly, Tom is the second most pure character in this musical, second only to Angel. Jesse L. Martin, who is now on The Flash, was a personal friend of Jonathan Larson's before the show was written, but he originated the role on Broadway and reprised the role in the movie. Angel Dumont-Chenard is the fan favorite, hands down. By today's standards, Angel would probably be written as non-binary or trans, but by the 90s standards, she's written as a cross-dresser or a drag queen. Angel goes by both male and female pronouns throughout the show, and she's also seen in masculine and feminine costumes from start to finish. She saves Tom after he gets mugged and then takes him to her life support meeting because, you guessed it, Angel also has AIDS. She does get paid to kill a dog and then basically brags about it, mostly because she has a lot of money now, but it's very evident that Angel is the glue of the group. Spoiler alert for anybody that doesn't know, but Angel dies after the halfway mark of the musical. She does fall into the bury your gays trope in this way, but her death is meant to show the emotional weight of what it was like to lose friends to AIDS in the 80s and 90s. Her death means something. She's not just taken from the story for the sake of getting rid of a queer character. After Angel is laid to rest, the group kind of falls apart for a while until they learn to unite to celebrate life rather than separate over the hurt of loss. Wilson Germain Herrera not only originated the role but won a Tony and a Drama Desk Award for the part. And he came back to play Angel in the movie. Mimi Marquez is too good for this world. She's a club dancer, a drug addict, and of course has HIV. Mimi cares so much about her friends, but her vices sometimes take too much of the pain of her reality away and even threaten her life. She lives to see the end of the musical, but it's generally assumed by most Rent heads that she doesn't live much further after that. She and Roger have this kind of tense fling because Roger refuses to open up to Mimi, and so she turns to another one of their friends, Benny, for support. Mimi is often placed by a Latinx or black actress. Daphne Rubin Vega originated the role on and off Broadway, but by the time the movie was being made, she was pregnant, and that made it pretty difficult for her to play a drug addict. Rosario Dawson, the son of my life, played Mimi in the movie, and Renee Elise Goldsberry, my favorite Skylar sister, played the role in the 2008 Broadway production. Maureen Johnson is the self-identified diva of the group, and I think she means to keep that title. Maureen is the only openly bisexual character in the musical. She dated Mark before the events of the musical take place, and she dates Joanne on and off throughout. However, she does tend to fall into the hyper-sexy bisexual trope. She flirts with just about anything that walks, and she and Joanne break up a few times throughout the musical over it. In the movie, they only break up once, but in both versions, they end up together at the end of the story. And I think there's something to be said that they're the only couple that ends up with an assured future at the end of the musical, because Mimi supposedly dies. In any case, Maureen is loud, proud, a fighter, and genuinely a good friend, if not a good girlfriend. Idina Menzel famously originated the part on and off Broadway and played Maureen in the movie. Maureen's girlfriend Joanne is honestly so underrated. She's a lawyer from a family of lawyers, but wants to help her less fortunate friends. Joanne is always played by a black woman. The one character in the whole musical with a good relationship with her parents and inherited wealth and a successful career is a black woman. Joanne is smart and calculating without being cunning. She knows how to get a job done without being ambitious about it. Freddie Walker Brown first played Joanne on and off Broadway, but she was the oldest member in the cast, having already been in her 30s while the rest of the cast were in their 20s. So 9 years later, when the movie was being made, she was already almost in her 50s while the rest of the cast were just getting into their 30s, so she was recast. Tracy Toms played Joanne in the movie, in the 2008 Broadway cast, and at the Hollywood Bowl, because she is just made for this part, apparently. Last but kind of least is Benjamin Coffin III, otherwise known as Benny. He used to be Mark and Tom's roommate, but then he married a very wealthy woman whose father owns the building where his friends live. Because he has access to this building now, he wants to turn it into a cyber studio, whatever that means. Benny is first seen as an antagonist. He's an outcast because suddenly he has money and his friends just think that he's out to benefit himself. Then, between the musical and the movie, his story diverts. In the musical, Benny tries his best to help Mimi. He gives her money to help support her, but of course she uses it to buy drugs. He pays for Angel's funeral when Collins can't, and he had already been an outcast before Angel became one of their friends. He also pays for Mimi to go to rehab when Roger walks out, and he shows that he genuinely cares about his friends. In the movie, however, he kinda just hovers over Mimi, and because we're not given any reason to think otherwise, when Roger thinks that they're hooking up, so do we. There's no real redemption for Benny in the movie, which is my least favorite part of the production. Taye Diggs originated the part and played Benny in the movie, and by 2005 he and Idina Menzel were already married, though they no longer are. While this story is told mostly through Roger and Mark, two white dudes, the people of color in the cast pretty much always outweigh the white folk. If you thought Hamilton was setting a precedent for representation on Broadway, talk to Lin-Manuel about Rent. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. In the comments below, let me know what your favorite parts about Rent are, what your least favorite parts about Rent are. Feel free to enter into a discourse about this musical because I know that the representation is not perfect. If you're not already subscribed to The Princess and the Scrivener, please do so down below, especially if you'd like to keep watching videos on Disney, intersectional feminism, pop culture critiques, musicals, and more. The Scrivener will see you next week.